We are continuing on Mesechet Avodah Zarah, and we are on Daf Nun He Amud Aleph, 12 lines down from the top of the Amud. Amar le Zunin Rabbi Akiva, that's what we're holding. Today's Amud is being learned. L'schut Refuah Shelema of Sarah Badora and Rachel Simcha Bat Nahid, that should have full recovery, Refuah Shelema, Amen. So says the Gemara, Amar lezunin Rabbi Akiva. We are continuing basically on the piece of Gemara that we started by the debate of the Roman Chachamim with the Chachmei Talmud, Chachmei Gemara, and here is a back and forth with Rabbi Akiva. So Zunin, this goy tells Rabbi Akiva, Libi velibecha yodea, da'avodat kochavim let b'mashasha. Says, I know and you know that Avodat Kochavim doesn't really have any reality to it. It's all bogus, empty, not real. Like the Rambam writes, this reminds me of the Rambam at the end of Hilchot Avodah Zarah in Perek Yud Aleph, Halakha Tetvav, I think it's the last halakha over there. Rambam writes, after all of the discussions, it's a Kedai Rambam to actually look inside. After all of the discussions that he has about black magic and sorcery and fortune telling and so on, which Rambam really strongly holds that these are all nonsensical and non-factual things that are just with a sleight of hand, not really any power in them. The Vilna Gaon, of course, very strongly disagrees with that, and he writes, it gets brought in the Biura Gra in Shcharoch in Kufayin Zayin Yuradea, he writes that the philosophical education of Rambam, he tuet levavo, they tilted his heart towards these things. But again, it stays as two schools of thought, because you find many of the Geonim also believed in this. Rambam writes all these things are nonsensical and non-factual things, and the Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, who are chachamim mechukamim, they are smart and sharp. It's not fit for them to believe in any of these things, that they have powers, and so on and so forth. So Rambam really follows the simple understanding of many of the passages in Gemara, but again, ignoring the simple understanding of many other passages in Gemara. So here, the Gemara says, well, I know and you know the Avodah Zarah is nothing, it's empty. It doesn't do anything and it's not. But says the Gemara, V'aka chazinan gavri da'azdi, ki mitberi ve'atu ki mesamedi. We see people who go there, they are broken, talking about physical sicknesses. They're sick, and they go to Avodah Zarah, and they come back healthy and well. So how does that work exactly? Asked Zunin to Rabbi Akiva, right? You find that this person is sick, and he goes to Bet Avodah Zarah, or goes to this Hindu monk or whatnot, and comes back intact and healthy. My Tama, Amar lo, Rabbi Akiva said, Emshor lecha mashal. Let me give you an example of how this works. Lema davar dome. La'adam ne'eman shaya be'ir. There was a fellow with his wife, that they were trustworthy individuals of the town. People would put pikdonot, would leave things with them without any witnesses. They were so trustworthy that people would just leave money with them without any edim, without any witnesses. And there was this guy that came there, and he was so specific to have edim and shtar and sign everything and take pictures and mamash. And One time this guy slipped up and gave him money, and he did not have any witnesses, no documents, nothing. So this guy's wife, Amra lo ishto, tells him, he deserves, for all the difficulties that he has put us through in these years, let's deny the loan and give him a little hard time over here, right? For all the hard time that he has given us, for us doing favors to him, now let's give him a little hard time. Let's deny it. Amala, he says to her, he says to his wife, says, just because this imbecile is doing shelok yehogen, he's doing something wrong, anu nabedet emunatenu, we are going to go against our trustworthy reputation that we have? Of course not. Afken, the same thing is with the Yisurim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends, the sickness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends. Afkach Yisurim b'sha'ah she'meshagrin otan, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends Yisurim to the person, al Adam, mashbin otan shelo telchu ela biyom peloni, there is a shvu'ah, there is a guarantee that this sickness, this difficulty, this Yisurim is going to go beyond peloni. It's going to take hold of this person at such and such date. And it's not going to come out and cease to exist in such and such day, in such and such hour, and through such and such doctor. All of it is set. Through such and such medication. All of it is set. And comes time for the sickness to go out, and the malach that is in charge of the sickness sees that the guy 2 hours ago went to this church or this monk. He goes to this Avodat Kochavim. Amru Yisurim, the Yisurim, the first white line. The Yisurim say, Dinhu, really, it should be, Shalonetze. We shouldn't go out. Now that you went to Bet Avodah Zarah, we should stay here for another year. Yisurim should stay on the guy. We'll go to Avodah Zarah. But at the end of the day, because this fool is doing Shalok Yehogen, is doing an inappropriate thing to go to Avodah Zarah, Anu Novat Shavuatenu, we are going to lose and destroy the promise, the Shvuah that has been put on us? Of course not. So the Yisurim leaves when it's supposed to leave. And this guy did what he did 5 minutes before. Now he's going to attribute it to what he did 5 minutes before. And that's how it is. And this is much more than just placebo effect, right? There is, of course, a placebo effect. I think the numbers are 66% or something like that. It's like a high rate. But at the end of the day, there was a doctor that in his, I think, 70s, after he retired, was a very well-known doctor, and this became a very well-documented essay that he wrote. He wrote an essay of the underlining secret of doctors. And probably someone could find this. And he wrote, years ago, and he wrote that most sicknesses, they get better by themselves. And the secret of being a doctor, when you don't really know any specific cure for it, is to tell them some generic things of elevate the limb and drink a lot and so on, and take some painkillers or some placebo things, and it goes by itself. Most sicknesses, they just get better by themselves. So, and that's exactly what this Gemara says. There's a time that the sickness has to go out. Again, we're talking about those that have, and they're not fatal, they're not terminal illnesses, and some of you're not taking away from the science shabo over here, but nevertheless, says you do something 5 minutes before, or the pill, or the acupuncture, or whatever it is that you did 5 minutes before. I said, I tried everything and nothing worked, and I did this, And it worked. So that's really something that the Gemara is saying. When the guy goes to Avodah Zarah and 5 minutes later he gets better, says Rabbi Akiva, it's not because he has anything to do with Avodah Zarah, it's just because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to change the nature of the world because of this imbecile that believes in a bogusness and an emptiness of Avodah Zarah. Says the Gemara. And this really is based on a pasuk, and this is an important Gemara. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan taught, my dichtiv, what does it say in the Parasha of Kelalot? Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he wants to bring punishment upon the Jews, Hashem is going to bring inflictions on you, on your children. Makot kedolot v'ne'emanot says these are going to be inflictions that are ne'eman v'cholaim ra'im v'ne'emanim, and sicknesses that are bad, but they are trustworthy. What does that mean exactly? So says the Gemara, you know what it means? It means the following. Ra'im b'shlichutan v'ne'emanim b'shvuatan. They are bad in their shlichut because, again, the agency that they have is to inflict the person with pain and difficulty. But they're at the same time ne'emanin b'shvuatan, that this shvuah that we talked about, this that they swear the agency that is going to go at this time and come out at this time and through this person and this medication is going to be trustworthy to that, and it's going to happen. Amar le Rav bar Yitzchak le Rav Yehuda. Rav bar Yitzchak told Rav Yehuda, Haika bet avodat kochavim. So I still don't understand. You see, by the way, even in the time of the Gemara, which simply put, we'll have upcoming Gemarot, the Chazal weakened the Yetzer Hara and destroyed the Yetzer Hara to some extent of Avodah Zarah. Still, this was something that people believed in the time of Avodah Zarah, time of Gemara, Goyim, outside the Jews, everybody else, basically, this was the belief system. And the Gemara questions things that people apparently felt about the Avodah Zarah. Says, Haika bet avodat kochavim be'atrim. We have a bet Avodah Zarah in our town. That when this drought, is need for rain, mitchazi lehu be'echelma, the Avodah Zarah comes to the dream, to the people, or to a person, and says to him, Hashta, wait a second, ve'amar lehu, and he says, Shachatu li gavra, slaughter a person. This is again talking about manslaughter in the rituals that still some places in the world hold. Ve'aiti mitra, and that's going to cause rain to come. Shachatu li gavra, and sure enough, they shecht a person. Ve'aiti mitra, and it works. So how does that work exactly? Amale. Rav Yehuda answers, Rav bar Yitzchak, Hashta yavishchivnam, lo amri lechu, hamilta da amar Rav. You see, good that you asked, because if I would pass away, then I wouldn't be able to say this amazing thing that I learned from Rav, my Rebbe. Again, Rav Yehuda was Be'ikart, the student of Rav, and then afterwards student Shmuel. My dichtiv, what is the meaning of the pasuk that says, Asher chalak Hashem Elokecha otam lechol ha'amim? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is a question that everyone should have when they read the pasuk, says, you should not serve the Avodah Zarah, pen tisa einecha. Maybe you're going to lift your eyes Hashamayma, to the heavens, v'ra'ita et hashemesh, v'tayareach, and you're going to see the sun and the moon and the stars, v'takochavim, kol tzva hashamayim, all the galaxies. V'nidachta, v'ishtachavit alayim, and you're going to stray away and start serving them. V'avatam asher chalak Hashem Elokecha otam lechol ha'amim. These are items that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has divided and given to the nations of the world. Tachat kol hashamayim. Now you read this pasuk and you're like, what? Hashem has given the shemesh and the yareach for service to the goyim, that they should serve them? Avodah Zarah? What does that mean exactly? Just say this is asur because Avodah Zarah. Don't do it. What does it mean? Asher chalak Hashem Elokecha. Hashem has given them to the goyim, which indicates that as though it's okay for the goyim to serve this. Of course not. So what does the pasuk mean? Right? It's a good question. It's a valid question. So Rav Yehuda is saying in the name of Rav. Rav said, you know what it means is like this. Melamed shehechlikan bidvarim. Chalak means not dividing, but chalak lehachlik. Lehachlik means to make it smooth and nice, right? That sometimes if you choose to do something wrong, then it's not only psychological. Psychologically, there was a wonderful research that they did, how two people, they had them walk down a specific street. One person that hated this street, had bad memories and trauma, and the other one that loved this street because had childhood, good memories and so on. And they, very innocent research, to just jot down things that they see in this street, right? To see how many things they could remember, right? They have no idea what they're being tested. And the first fellow went down, he saw and he observed all the imperfections in this street. I saw a house with a cracked window, saw a car without a bumper, saw this, all the imperfections. And the other guy saw all the beautiful. I saw a flower like this, a blossom like that, a fancy car like this. All the positive things, because their brains work like that. But besides that, says Rav over here, what seems to say is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually lets them believe in what they want to believe in. You want to believe in this Avodah Zarah? I'll give you reason to believe in it. And it's not just that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is helping them necessarily. No. But if you choose, the koach of a person's bechira is so important and so powerful that HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually, it's not going to stop you from it. If you chose, the Rambam writes, for instance, that a person that does not believe in one of the 13 principles of faith, he has no chelek leolam haba. He has no portion. And the question is, wait, so some people, the Ravad already asks a question on Rambam, because Rambam holds, if you believe that Hashem has hands and feet, and you read the psukim, Yad Hashem, Yad Chazaka, Ubizra Netuya, V'amdu Raglav Bayom Hahu, Einei Hashem Meshotetot Ba'ares, all these psukim that indicate that Hashem has eyes and hands and arms and feet and legs, you have no chelek l'olam haba, Rambam writes. Ravad is very troubled with this. He says, wait a second, there are many good people who believe in this stuff. They all have no head, but that's the shita of Rambam. And Rambam writes this in his preface to Pirush Mishnah, in his Pirush Mishnah on Sanhedrin, on the 11th Perek Chelek, and he says, when he counts the 13 principles of faith, and says, you don't believe in any of these things, no olam haba, right? So the question is, like, if somebody didn't learn about these things, didn't go to cheder, didn't go to proper school, how in the world is he not going to have olam haba? And this becomes a platform for a lot of discussion in the principles of a person's emunah. And one of the ways that the famous Reb Chaim, the father of the Brisker Rav, said this, Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, he said in Farsi, that if you are a afikores, if you are not a believer, but you're a nebach afikores, that means it's an unfortunate case. It's also considered an afikores because the principles of emunah are so simple. If a person really wants to be a thinker in the world, if he wants to be a thinker and realize that Avodah Zarah is completely bogus and empty, these are things that a person could and should think about and come to conclusions. And therefore, if you don't care about and you want to believe in some garbage, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually opens the way for you. If you want to believe in Avodah Zarah, Hashem gives you reason to believe in it. And that's the teaching of Rav. Asher chalak comes from the language of machalik. Hashem makes it smooth and nice for you. It shows you an open door for making the mistakes that you want to make. It's not going to stop you necessarily. If you want to do good, then Hashem pushes you and helps you and takes your hand and walks you through it. That's much better. But He's not going to stop you unless you have tremendous chuyot. It's not going to stop you from choosing something bad if you really want to choose that. So therefore says Rav, Hashem made it smooth with words in order to open the way for them, if you want to choose destruction, that they should do whatever they want to choose. And this is the same teaching that Rish Lakish taught. The pasuk that says, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals with letzanut, with people who have letzanut, and to people who are humble and down to earth, Hashem gives them chen, Hashem gives them charm and grace, and He helps them out. So it says, again, this is Shlomo Melech in Mishlei, says the Gemara, says Rish Lakish, Baletame Potchino is a famous Gemara all over Shas, and this maybe 5 places in Gemara, Habaletame Potchino. If someone wants to decide to do negativity, he really is driven to do something bad, Hashem gives him an open door. It's not going to stop him. If you want to do good, Mesayin Oto. Hashem not only opens the doors for him, but He literally pushes him and pulls him and walks him and helps him through the doing of the good, which is the end of our Gemara. We start the next Mishnah, which is now, until now, was a whole piece of Mesechet Avodah Zarah. From here on is going to be another segment of Mesechet Avodah Zarah, all of the halachot of Yain Nesech. All the halachot of dealing with wine of the goyim, which is extremely prevalent. You go to different parties at different places, and getting gifts of wine from Jews and from non-Jews and so on and so forth. So we're going to start just doing at the beginning of the Mishnah at least. Lokhin gat. I want to explain how the wine press of the goyim worked in the yesteryears. Basically, the way they did it was they would carry the anavim, they would carry the grapes to a place called Bet Hagat. So how it was usually built was 2 different levels in the ground, one smooth and tilted surface on the top that you would put all the grapes, and you would go with barefoot, hopefully washed your foot beforehand, and you would go on them and press this. Different people's large area, and all of it's slanted to one pointer that will pour the wine, the grape juice that was pressed into a Bet Hagat, in the bottom pit, that all of the grape juice would go there, and they would leave it there initially to have the initial process of fermentation. If you take a look at any given grape, there is a layer, very thin layer of whitish, creamish stuff on it. That is natural yeast. And when you press the grapes together, this yeast gets mixed with the grape juice, and that is what ferments the sugar content of the grapes into alcohol, and that hence the wine, right? So they would do that, and then what you are left with on top of the Bet Hagat, where you were pressing them, still has some wine, some grape juice mixed with the grapes. So they would gather that with their hands and go take it to a press that would put it, and it would be like a Bet Habad. It would press it to squeeze every little last drop out of the remnants of these grapes, and that also would be added to the to the gat, to the pit afterwards. And that was the process of squeezing the grapes. Now the Gemara is going to explain at what point does this become Yain Nesech, and can you help the goyim do what they do over there, because there is another parallel isur with yain nesech that the Mishnah is going to discuss, which is something most people are not aware of, and which is in Eretz Yisrael, you cannot cause the fruits of Eretz Yisrael to become tameh. And when the goy deals with them, of course, he makes them tameh. So can you, as a Jew, work with a goy in a business of making wine? What things can you and what things can you not do when you are working with a goy or with a non-religious Jew, which is also going to be metameh? It's going to make the fruits of Eretz Yisrael tameh. That's going to be the subject of this Mishnah, which Be'ezrat Hashem will continue in the days to come.